On today's Movie Talk, we've got your weekend box office report, and then on top of that, the Golden Globe nominees are here. We're breaking those down in addition to 2 new very hot trailers, a new trailer for Wonder Woman, and the new Ghostbusters movie. Happy Monday, everyone. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend, but I also hope that you're ready to go with a whole bunch of movie news today because we have a stacked show and I get to talk about all of these topics with 2 super cool guys. We've got Silas on the desk today and Rocha.
Hello.
And Rocha, we're wearing
Don't you bring it up. Okay.
All right,
Don't you bring it up, Perri.
So we have to kick off the show by telling you.
Nice, Perri. Kick off.
I didn't even mean to do that. Pause on that. This show is brought to you by Heroes and Villains. It's a collection of clothing for anybody who is part of a fandom and you want some really high quality clothes for the brands that you love so much. Like, let's say Star Trek. You have a cool Star Trek jacket on too.
As soon as they showed me this, I lost my mind. This is such a fantastic. Look at the logo on there. Look at the back of this thing. Let me turn around.
Oh no, don't knock the desk over. It's cool. Oh, now I feel like,
so it's like, if you're a Star Trek fan, this is great.
Look at the back of the, wait, I have to stand up. I can't do that.
Always in competition. Look at that. It is pretty awesome. It's massive.
I'm going to ruin their frame, but I'm going to get back in the middle there. So if you want to get your hands on any of this fine stuff, you just go on over to heroesvillains.com and you can use the promo code TALK10 and you can get 10% off your order. And the thing is, there's other discounts out there. So you use TALK10 on top of that discount and then get even more off. So good deals over there. A lot of cool stuff too. All right, Rocha, what did you want to talk about now? Little fantasy football playoff action?
Let me tell you something, people. I know it's movie talk, but real quick, because I host Collider Sports Time, I'm going to tell you, fantasy football, don't set your lineups at 3 a.m. in the morning when you're suffering through a little bit of tuberculosis, because you make changes and you doubt yourself, and you sit Raheem Mostard, who got 32 points yesterday, and you lose to Perri Nemiroff by 1 damn point.
I want to be fair to you, though, because I was watching as you weren't changing your lineup, and I'm like, oh, thank God he's not changing his lineup. And then when I woke up Sunday morning and saw that you changed it, I thought you made some smart. I feel like it wasn't a loss that should make you feel bad about how you set your lineup. Because, like, who did
I went with smart choices.
You subbed in Freeman for him, so it wasn't a bad decision.
I guess.
And I just got stupid lucky at the end.
Yes, a great
stupid lucky
on
like a bad injury too, which made me very sad. And I hope Rashad Penny heals up fast.
True.
That was a rough one, but that's where we all stand with fantasy football. I believe I had a playoff win, and Adam Smith in the booth had a playoff win as well. So now we go on to face Jeff and Jack, and that's where it stands right now. Are you into fantasy?
No, I lost all track when you start talking about Star Trek.
I had a feeling. All right, let's get back on track with our box office talk here. The top 5 of the weekend was Frozen 2 coming out on top with $34.7 million. Then we had Knives Out at number 2 with $14.2 million. Ford v Ferrari coming in at number 3 with $6.537 million, followed right behind by Queen and Slim, which made $6.53 million. And then finally, It Was a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood with $5.2 million. Briefly, for the top 5, is there anything that surprised you, that caught your eye, that held stronger than you expected?
I'm just happy that there are so many interesting movies that aren't necessarily sequels in the top 5. I think it's awesome. I think it's a testament to all of those movies that they're quality films that people want to see and are turning out for.
Yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Sorry, I'm still suffering through this stuff. But I love the fact, too, it's December. It's Oscar season. It's award season. These are the movies that are supposed to come out. So for all this talk about superhero stuff and summer tentpoles and, they're swallowing up these other movies, here we are again with these movies that are in top 5. They're unusual. Queen and Slim has nothing to do with Knives Out. Ford versus Ferrari has nothing to do with Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. And, of course, Frozen 2 right at the top. So to me, I like this collection. If you go further down, yes, maybe they didn't do as well, but you've got Dark Waters, 21 Bridges, Playing with Fire, Midway, and then you get to Joker at 10, still hanging on. So for me, I think I like it's a nice variety for this time of year. It's not another slate of superhero movies here in December. So.
It is another Disney movie, even though
Frozen is, yeah,
Frozen 2 within this group of 5, it's still a unique selection of films and a unique set of options that you have out there, but it still is a Disney movie. And I got to bring up Disney right now because they had an especially big milestone. So Disney's record for the highest box office in a calendar year had been crushed by Disney itself. So Disney crossed the $10 billion threshold this week and beating 2016's $7.6 billion. And just to give you a little perspective here, that $10 billion doesn't even count the Fox box office haul. And if you add that in, Disney's total worldwide box office in 2019 amounts to $11.94 billion. And keep in mind, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, has not even hit theaters yet. So they're making a ton of money, and they're making a ton of money on, not original films, on the continuations of franchises and sequels and the reimagining of old properties. So even though it is very exciting to see some different titles, especially a super original movie like, let's say, Knives Out, and also something like Queen and Slim in the mix, the box office is being dominated by movies like Avengers Endgame, The Lion King, Captain Marvel, Toy Story 4, Aladdin, and now Frozen 2, and soon to be Star Wars.
Yeah, but you and I have this battle all the time. It's business versus art. This is business. Clearly, they know what they're doing if they're breaking these records. And look, they're going to factor in the Fox stuff, which I think is going to be another $1.5 billion in their total cash. So that's great. But what do you expect? They own 60% of the market. So breaking the record doesn't seem like, I don't know if it seems that big of a deal, because as you acquire more and more property and you acquire more and more of the screenings and the theaters, then of course you're going to have more and more opportunity to break these records. But overall, right now, I'm okay with it because they're producing quality product. The problem comes later down the road if the theaters are being inundated with their not so quality product and other films aren't being allowed to bust out and take those screens and get seen. That's where the concern might be. But for right now, clearly they're making good money and they're satisfying viewers' demands for good, fun entertainment and interesting entertainment. So
Do you have any concern, Silas, with Disney eating up this much of the market?
No, because I think that people will go to see what they want to see. I get that Frozen is sort of a force of nature, and Disney is a force of nature at this point. And there are certain movies that they're going to put out, and even if they're not excellent films, are going to make a ton of money, and that's fine. Like it's fine to have that kind of entertainment. I'm just glad that people are coming out for things that they may never have heard of before. I don't even necessarily think that like sequels versus originals are the problem. I would happily see a sequel to Knives Out. I feel like more Benoit Blanc mysteries would be awesome to see. I think what's awesome about it is that people are hearing, here's something I don't associate with. I heard it's really good. I want to check it out. That's the positive side.
Yeah, that really excites me. And I hate jumping from the positive to the negative, but we can't conclude this box office conversation without bringing Playmobil into the equation right now, because, oh no, what happened with that movie? So Playmobil is an STX release, and it is, what is the record here? So it had something like $660,000 3 days from over 2,000 theaters, and oh God, a $282 per theater average. And that right there makes it the third worst opening average ever for a film opening in 2,000 or more locations. I mean, I don't know. The way that I read it is part of the problem was that STX kind of just gave up. I don't think I saw any marketing for this. And I know I am not the target audience for a Playmobil movie, but as someone who exists in this bubble and also as someone who watches a good deal of TV, you would think I would have seen a Playmobil TV spot at some point.
I have a sister-in-law who loves Playmobil, has an amazing Playmobil collection. I don't think she was aware this movie was coming out.
Yeah, I was wondering about when these things happen with animation in certain studios. Like, is this like the producers where they purposely put this thing out and know it's terrible, they're going to take a loss, but they're going to recoup the insurance so they can keep going? Like, they know, like, there's so many weird animated films that come out and get barely any publicity if they're not from a massive studio, and then rarely do well. And you're like, well, why did you sink all this money? Because an animated film takes so much time.
This is a different situation. And I believe this breakdown that I have in my notes might have come from Box Office Mojo. And I think that they had written STX picked it up for domestic distribution after Global Road filed for bankruptcy in 2008. So we don't really know how much they paid for it. But on top of that, apparently STX STX is emphasizing the use of variable pricing for the film, which includes a $5 a ticket experiment to encourage and incentivize audiences to see the film while allowing theaters to begin to explore value pricing for a first-run movie.
How can that work if you're not advertising it correctly? That people don't even know about
And
it.
clearly, in this case, it didn't work.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Like, what was the actual logic in this, picking it up and putting absolutely no effort in marketing the movie? How did you expect it to do well? And how can you use that variable pricing and get legitimate results if you don't put the same amount of marketing and awareness behind the film? I don't even know what it's about. I don't even know who voices any of the characters. Is anyone famous voicing the characters?
I can look that up now. Let's find out.
I'm usually aware of animation, doing voiceovers myself. I'm very aware of animated stuff that comes out, but I had no idea what this is.
Yeah,
it is weird. I remember, back when I did more of a daily news beat, I remember covering this movie when it was first announced years and years ago. I mean, it was like, as the Lego movie was in development, it was, and Playmobil's doing their own version. And it kind of felt like when Lego movie hit, that they're going to fast track Playmobil because that could easily be just like the Lego movie.
Right.
Well, the voice cast included some familiar names.
Okay.
We had Anya Taylor-Joy, Gabriel Bateman, who was just in Child's Play, Jim Gaffigan, and then we also had Meghan Trainor, Adam Lambert, Kenan Thompson, and Daniel Radcliffe.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that came and went, and yeah. We're probably not going to hear much about that in the near future.
I'm really curious now. I kind of want to go see it just because no one else
maybe
did.
you can get your hands on a $5 ticket.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Variable pricing.
For all we know, given how much STX spent, maybe they just spent the money to buy it for the sake of an experiment like that. I don't know. I mean,
STX
at least
has had a pretty good year, despite. they had the
with
upside
Hustlers
at the
and
beginning
everything.
of the year and Hustlers.
Hustlers, yeah.
So two pretty big hits.
Was the upside this year?
Yeah, it was early this year.
Oh, that's really messing with my head right now. Oh, I can't handle it. All right, let's go into one of our really big topics of the day, the Golden Globe nomination. So there is a lot to cover here. We're going to go category by category and focus particularly on the Best Motion Picture categories, director, and we're also going to hit all the acting categories. If we miss anything, don't worry. We're going to cover it on Collider FYC this week. But just to give you guys a little bit of a picture of what happened, Marriage Story got 6 nominations. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got 5, and so did The Irishman. Let us go category by category now. Kicking it off with Best Motion Picture Drama. The nominees there are 1917, The Irishman, Joker, Marriage Story, and The Two Popes. What say you guys? Anything surprise you in this one?
Surprise? The Two Popes is one of these quiet little engines no one's nominating anybody for actor, and nobody's nominating anybody for the director and stuff. But for some reason, it's one of these Netflix films as well that keeps pushing and pushing and pushing, but gets into these Best Picture conversations. I find to be fascinating. I'm happy 1917 is there. I think that should win Best Picture. So I'm happy. Maybe it'll start that process.
Anything surprise you on the list, Silas?
So I haven't seen Two Popes. I've seen everything else, and of that list, I would pick Irishman.
Really? Okay.
I loved The Irishman.
I think I would probably pick Irishman too. I mean, of the list, we all have this conversation all the time where the Golden Globes aren't necessarily predictors of what's going to get nominated, but it is nice to have it come right around this time of year when you could start to put everything into focus a little more. And if I look at this list, the two that I think are going to get bumped off the Best Picture nomination list are probably Two Popes at this point.
Yeah.
And I still don't quite know what to make of Joker. I feel so confident about Joker in the Best Actor category, but I'm not quite sure what to make of it elsewhere. And we're going to get to it more when we talk about Best Director. But, I'm not surprised at all to see it pop up here for the Golden Globes, especially when you've got the drama and then the comedy feel. That really changes the game, and it makes it an impossible one-to-one as far as predicting Oscars go.
Yeah. Hey, Little Women, would Little Women have qualified for the drama category, or is it the musical comedy category?
I imagine that would have been a drama.
Right? So to me, that's the big snub, in my opinion. I think Little Women is a Fantastic movie for 2 hours, 20 minutes to keep my attention, for God's sakes, about this story. I was brilliant. It was very well directed by Greta Gerwig. Like I said, I feel like she took a leap here as a director, and to not have this film even nominated and only one nomination from the entire film is ridiculous.
It would have been drama because Saoirse Ronan's acting nomination is in the drama category. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest snubs across the board here. And I don't quite know why this would be, but it did only get one nomination. And, you know, not to jump around here, but when you look at the Best Director category, we all well know that the Globes have a problem when it comes to nominating female directors.
Especially after Natalie Portman sort of took them to task in presenting an award and said, like, here's the all-male nominees.
Yeah. This is the thing that I brought this up with Perri off the mic and before we started the show. I think the directing category has to be expanded to 10 now. It's my personal opinion. I think if we could do it with pictures, I'll be goddamn we can't do it with Best Directors. All these women got completely shut out from this stuff. You've got let's show Pedro Almodovar wasn't in this thing. Clint Eastwood is in this thing. Greta Gerwig is in this thing. Josh and Benny Safdie for Uncut Gems.
Safdie. Wait. Let's just move on, and we'll cover the Best Director one now.
I thought you were jumping in. My bad.
No. The nominations for Best Director at the Golden Globes are Bong Joon-ho for Parasite. We have Sam Mendes for 1917, Todd Phillips for Joker, Martin Scorsese for The Irishman, and Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I look at that list, and I think most of them are deserving.
Absolutely.
So there's that side of it. But I also think that Greta Gerwig should be on this list. It's not like we have a lack of female directors that are worthy of the nomination either. It's like you have her, you have Marielle Heller for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. You have Lorene Scafaria for Hustlers. It's like, there's options out there. And
Honey Boy.
And The Farewell, too.
Yeah, The Farewell as well.
Where are these
Lulu Wang,
things?
for The Farewell.
Oh, wait. Is this the category that you were going to tell me? Okay. I'll let you go for it now.
I just think, I've said it already. I just think these Best Director category needs to be expanded to 10. Oscars as well. Enough is enough. There are too many incredible directors. And if we're going to open the door for more diversity in the directing side, both because of race and because of gender, then we have to be nominating more people because they're going to get more opportunities. Look at the list. Is it all white except for Bong Joon-ho? I think it's all white guys. And you know what's ironic? The guy at kickoff is Tarantino. I thought it was a well-directed film, but there's nothing he did in the film that he hadn't done in 10 other films or 8 other films. So to me, I wasn't like wowed by his direction. It was a good movie, but I could have kicked him off absolutely for somebody else that could get a shot at this thing. And I think the Golden Globes needs to have some explanation here too, because if you look at the TV side, When They See Us didn't get anything. Watchmen, a black-led show, didn't get anything. It's a little frustrating to see this happening over and over again with something supposed to be a global Hollywood foreign press crap. Come on, step up to the plate. You know, it frustrates me overall. This is the second highest awards ceremony we get every year.
I think it's even interesting to divorce it from race or gender and just say, like, well, obviously, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a writer-director that is building a story in tandem with one another. 1917 is a very stylish way of making a movie. The creativity should be more diverse, and I think 10 is exactly fits that. Like, there's a lot of movies. I mean, I was sort of looking back on Knives Out and thinking, like, I love Knives Out. This is a really enjoyable movie. I love the mystery. But there's a lot of stuff in that movie that I think you take for granted as far as direction. For example, the first time you see a flashback, you need to convince the audience that this flashback is something that happened as opposed to someone's vision of something that happens without explicitly saying that. And the movie accomplishes that.
Yeah.
And it's one of those little things that, you know, you look at 1917 and be like, oh, well, obviously this is tremendous directing because look at everything that had to go to make this work.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of stuff that goes into directing that's like little things beyond that.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, whenever I look at a category like that, and, you know, even when I pick my own choices for the Critics' Choice Awards, I always like to think first and foremost, like, could anybody else have directed this movie this way? And when I think about that, there are a couple of names on this list that I would probably give the boot. I wasn't the biggest fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood overall. I just didn't love it as much as I've loved a lot of his other work. So maybe Tarantino would be off the list. But the fact that the Safdie brothers are not on this, I mean, Uncut Gems is the definition of what I just expressed. A movie that could not have been made the same way by anybody else. But I also believe Adam Sandler isn't on this list either.
No, he isn't.
Yeah, he's not on it. So maybe it's just like a thing where Uncut Gems was not as well received as it is amongst us in the Hollywood Foreign Press Association.
I think it's a shame that Uncut Gems didn't come out a little earlier, because I just saw it this weekend, and I had been told over and over, like, this is a great movie, this is a great movie. And every time I looked at it, I kind of like, I see where this is going. And then you watch it and you're like, oh,
no, you don't.
No, I didn't at all. And I think the movie needs to have that with audiences, because you can say, oh, you're not going to see where this is going. There's only so much you can actually convince someone that's the case.
Well, you could say the same thing also maybe about the release date of something like a Richard Jewell or Little Women, for that matter.
Yeah.
Maybe release date is a factor here.
Yeah.
You looked like you had more to add.
Taika Waititi, right? Do they separate the directors between comedy and drama?
No. It's one
even more so.
Well, that's
so.
another thing here that when it comes to screenplay, you know how we have adapted and original in the Oscars? They have one screenplay category. So that's why, again, this isn't a good way to necessarily predict what's going to get an Oscar nomination.
But Green Book did win last year, Golden Globes, and then won the Oscar, so it's shocking.
Well, I mean, really, when you're especially when you're talking about Best Picture, when here you have the field so spread out like that. I mean, you're bound to have some crossovers. It's like if like the pool is this big and you have that many films to work with and they select that many, I mean, you're bound to have crossover, not only here, but in all the Guild nominations too. I don't look at this list and I don't then look at the wins. The reason why the wins matter for me actually is I do think that Golden Globe night winds up being part of the marketing campaign, someone's Oscar campaign. When they get up there and they deliver a powerful, meaningful speech, I don't necessarily think somebody out there is thinking, well, now I'm going to vote for you because you had a good speech. But it's more a matter of that person making sure that they're on voters' minds. It doesn't necessarily affect how the voter feels about the quality of their work in their film, but it's all about keeping like your name and the movie's name in everybody's conscience. So when they're sitting there filling out their ballots, you're the first one they think of.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the Best Musical or Comedy category, where we have Dolomite Is My Name, Jojo Rabbit, Knives Out, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Rocket Man. I will say the one that excited me most on this list, because it is fresh on my mind, is Rocket Man. We did that Collider FYC screening at ArcLight Hollywood the other night, and I hadn't revisited it since May when it first came out.
Wow. Okay.
But I watched it. I watched it once to prep for the Q&A after, and then I watched it again. I sat through the movie, and I don't know if I fully appreciated that the first time around. Maybe I just needed to find my footing as far as the fantasy elements go. But the second time around, I'm looking at that, and that's another one that the directing in it is kind of next level when you think about them pulling the reality elements and the fantasy elements together so well. And the scene transitions in that movie are so well crafted. So I was happy to see this get a little love.
I find this to be ironic because Dexter Fletcher stepped in and took over for singer for Bohemian Rhapsody. And now he gets to fully do stuff with Rocket Man. I loved it the first time I saw it. Loved it the next two times I saw it. It is an incredible film that is getting absolutely no buzz overall for Best Picture or for Best Director or even Taron Egerton for Best Actor. And I think it's miles better than Bohemian Rhapsody, in my opinion. And I think what makes Bohemian Rhapsody good is Dexter Fletcher's contributions to the film, which is what he did fully with Rocket Man. So I think people who are Queen fans are getting a little muddled in their heads about what's good and what is. And I think for me personally, Rocket Man is a much more honest exploration and that takes advantage of the medium so well, better than Bohemian Rhapsody did, which I think copped out on a number of occasions with Freddie Mercury's story. Even though that last scene is incredible when they redo Live Aid, I think there's more in Rocket Man for you to hold on to and discover and explore, and uses the film medium so well.
How are you feeling about this category, Silas?
I'm not the biggest Rocket Man fan.
Get out.
I do think of any of the awards that I would give it, Taron Egerton is just like, he's very, very good. And the fact that he is actually performing and convincingly performing Like it is fantastic. I definitely like it more than Bohemian Rhapsody. I love Eddie the Eagle, which was Taron Egerton and
Eddie the
Dexter
Eagle
Fletcher.
was one of my favorite movies of 2015.
It was such a like under the radar. Like, why is this as
still,
good as it is?
I still rewatch Eddie the Eagle a lot.
I'm kind of excited now that Dexter Fletcher has like had some projects where people are like, oh wow, this is a name to watch. Yeah. I really am excited about what he does now.
Yeah, and I want to give credit back because I was giving them crap earlier. I like to give a little credit to the Golden Globes for nominating Dolomite Is My Name.
Yes.
That is a fantastically fun film. Eddie won't smell a nomination. Wesley won't either, and that's unfortunate. But the film overall, at least getting recognized this way, is a positive.
I think the main things missing from this category at a glance to me is definitely, well, we were talking about Little Women in the other category. I wonder where Bombshell would have fallen.
Yeah,
Bombshell would have been in the drama category, actually. And I'm a little surprised to have that knocked out. But
are you surprised by Cats not even being?
So I think
does this bode well or bode badly?
I think that this is the sign that even though there was some like little bit of hope left that Cats could have been a real Oscar contender, I'm pretty sure the fact that they didn't go for it is a sign that it's not going to be the case. There is one predictor that I would buy into right now. Yeah. Cats is out, except for Song, which I think it is on the Golden Globe list for. All right, let's keep going down these categories here so we can hit most of them. Best performance by an actress in a motion picture drama. So we've got Renee Zellweger for Judy, of course, Charlize Theron for Bombshell, Saoirse Ronan for Little Women, Cynthia Erivo for Harriet, and Scarlett Johansson for Marriage Story. What say you about this category?
This is Zellweger's to lose, in my opinion. Even though there's been a lot of buzz recently for her, I think it's just like this quiet acceptance is going to happen. Like with Frances McDormand, like we knew 3 Billboards, no problem. I feel this way about Zellweger with Judy. I don't know if anybody can come in there, but I'm happy that Cynthia Erivo got nominated for Harriet. That's fantastic.
Wow, you were really excited about that, weren't you?
Yeah, sorry, apologies. Go ahead, man.
I mean, one of the other ones that jumps out that I keep thinking of is Lupita Nyong'o in Us. Is just such a creepy, like a performance that I have come back to throughout the year. I think all around the people in that category are great. You're probably right about Judy. The only thing I'm worried about is I feel like Judy is this year's Stan and Ollie.
Oh
no!
I really loved Stan and Ollie. I thought their performances were so good in that, and just kind of got ignored.
Well, Stan and Ollie didn't have the same fanfare during its release, and I think they positioned the release of Judy and the debut of Judy on the festival circuit very, very well. I think they basically kicked off their run with all the noise in the world, and it might feel like it's just coasting on that right now, but wait for it. I mean, come the beginning of January, they're going to be making all that noise all over again, and I think she's in good shape to win. But
it does feel like it's that perfect, like, this is a very, very good dramatic performance, but the character's also performing, which is also really cool, and there's a transformative element, which is always like something for awards. So yeah, I can see it playing.
It's like Lincoln. Daniel Day-Lewis is great in Lincoln. The film itself maybe not as good, but he's good. I feel Judy.
I've really come around on Lincoln. I thought it was kind of boring the first time, and now I am totally.
Do I need to rewatch Lincoln? Because I was originally with you on that. It wasn't my favorite. All right, let's add in some of the best performances by an actress in a musical or comedy, just to see the whole group together right now. The list includes Awkwafina in The Farewell, Beanie Feldstein from Booksmart, Ana de Armas from Knives Out, Emma Thompson in Late Night, and Cate Blanchett in Where'd You Go, Bernadette. There's always that random one, isn't that?
Yeah.
Like, what was it? What was it like? The Tourist and like some weird stuff with like Joe that. And like, didn't what's the Robert Downey Jr. one that one year that got all the love?
Or whatever?
Like The Judge.
Oh, the Judge. Yeah, the Judge.
Not to be really cynical about it, but there is sort of the reputation that the Hollywood Foreign Press invites the actors that they want to hang out with to their awards show.
So that's probably the most random one I see on the list. And I would say, so Awkwafina is in my prediction list for the Academy Award. So I'm just excluding her from this comment for that reason. But I'm very, very, very excited to see Ana de Armas, Beanie Feldstein, and Emma Thompson on this list, because those are 3 names that I don't think are going to get nearly enough recognition other than the Golden Globes, which is a shame, but it's also a sign that we have many, many good performances this year.
Yeah, I mean, those are all, I think, movies I've seen more recently in trying to catch up, but like some really strong. I mean, it's sort of like looking like what I was saying about Judy. The physically becoming someone else is always something that like helps win in awards, and those are performances that like they're still playing a different person, they're still convincingly playing another character, but there's not the physical transformation side.
Yeah, I mean, I did not like Late Night. I thought I was hoping to like it. I didn't. I think Emma is good in the film, certainly. I think it cops out the last 45 minutes of the movie, but I would throw Caitlin Dever in over Beanie Feldstein, in my personal opinion. I think she's a fantastic actress. I liked more of what she was doing in Booksmart than Beanie, but just by a hair. So I find this interesting how you choose between the two, because they both have interesting stories within the narrative of the film. I just like Caitlin's a little bit more than Beanie's, that's all. But you know, it's good to see that film getting love, because a lot of people were hurt that it didn't make a lot of money.
I'm not capable of picking between the two of
Well,
them.
they were.
All I wanted was to see Booksmart get a little recognition on
fair.
the award circuit. I don't care who it went to, but I would have been happy.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, that's another thing, is Olivia Wilde for Best Director.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That is an exceptional, it's an exceptional film, period. But the fact that that's her first feature as a director, I still can't get over. And that movie is still firmly in my top 5 of the year.
10 directors, people. 10 directors.
Do you want to add something, Silas?
No, I just was totally agreeing about Booksmart. It's like, it's really rewatchable. It has amazing performances. It's a really like tight movie. It's exceptionally well made. And
I
that's
hope when SAG rolls around, it gets an ensemble nomination.
well, it's also like, I have seen so many movies from actors that decide they want to be directors, and the exception I think is The Gift. I love The Gift, but usually they're not very good, and there's often a reason that actors will direct a movie and then they don't become directors. They sort of say, oh, that was fun, I'm going to do something else. Olivia Wilde is like, no, I want to see your next movie.
Dexter Fletcher was an actor.
True.
There's one opposite, but it's like, this year it's making me think, Richard Jewell isn't getting nominated, Motherless Brooklyn isn't getting nominated. I don't know. It can go one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm upset about the Richard Jewell stuff. It's like, I think things are happening behind the scenes.
Richard Jewell did get
one,
one, didn't it? It got supporting for Kathy Bates.
Yeah.
But the only thing about Richard, and I liked Richard Jewell, I thought it was pretty good. It's just in comparison to some of this other stuff, I understand why it's getting bumped out, except for Paul Walter Hauser.
Yeah.
I think he is so good in that.
That's the thing that I worry about, because I just did the junket and Paul Walter Hauser was so nice, and Getting Me Clint was great, but like his performance is incredible. I think this is the best thing Clint's directed, even past American Sniper to the Letters from Iwo Jima. I think this is the most heartfelt film he's directed in quite some time, and yet people. I think it's a little bit political. I think some liberals are looking at this going, oh, this seems like a right-wing movie. I don't think I want to go see it. And I think it's getting lost in the shuffle because of that. And I think that's unfair, because it's a damn good movie. So.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
See, but this is the best
As a
kind
lover
of
of film,
this
it's
is the best kind of frustration though, because this is the time of year when we get to celebrate all the things we're super passionate about. And if there's not enough space in these award ceremonies to accommodate everything, it means we got a good chunk of films this year.
Very true,
I will take
Perri.
that. All right. Let's do the 2 best performance by an actor in a motion picture categories, starting with drama. First one on that list is Christian Bale for Ford v. Ferrari, Joaquin Phoenix for Joker, Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory. Then we have Jonathan Pryce for The Two Popes and Adam Driver in A Marriage Story. And rolling right into the comedy section here, Leonardo DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Eddie Murphy for Dolomite Is My Name, Daniel Craig for Knives Out, Taron Egerton for Rocket Man, and Roman Griffin Davis for Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
I mean, you could hear in my inflection right there which one makes me the most excited. It's one of those situations where I don't think he's going to be in the best actor category, and I think he is such a strong anchor for that movie. So Roman Griffin Davis getting the attention he deserves is wonderful. But certain ceremonies do have awards for young up-and-coming actors, and I think he is going to dominate a lot of those.
Yeah.
What do you think about this pool of 10 names here?
I think that's a pretty incredible pool. I mean, that actually of everything we've talked about is one of the most evenly matched. I am not the biggest Joker fan, but if Joaquin Phoenix won for Best Performance, I can't argue with that. He's very, very good.
I would agree with that. He is very, very good. I think that award is either going to, I think it's probably going to be him at this point, or
Eddie Murphy also. Like, I just feel like
Eddie's possible for a Golden
I don't know.
Globe. for a Golden Globe. I don't know.
There's a level to it. I guess you guys don't like it as much. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is probably my favorite movie of the year.
Wow. And, okay.
I think Leonardo DiCaprio is fantastic in it. I probably would not select him from this category. Just because there is sort of an attitude sometimes in my mind of like, okay, we know you're a really good actor. Like, you don't need this. Like, and not that we don't know somebody like Eddie Murphy is, but it would be nice to bring Eddie Murphy back into the spotlight where he hasn't been for a while.
He's still pretty locked in my Oscar predictions. The one obvious omission here is Robert De Niro for The Irishman.
Yeah.
What happened? Because it's not like the HFPA overlooked The Irishman in general. They just didn't include Robert De Niro.
Yeah, Pesci and Pacino got nominated. That's insane to me. Also, I mean, I don't know what it was. I mean, he carried the movie for all the whole movie's about him.
See, if anything, I would think what would happen in a scenario like that is that Pesci and Pacino could run the risk of canceling each other out if someone decides to only vote for one or the other. Right. But like, why was Robert De Niro removed from the situation?
I would throw two other names out there. I think LaBeouf and Honey Boy should have been nominated. And once again, Paul Walter Hauser. Here we go again. You kick Jonathan Pryce right on out of there. I absolutely slide Hauser into that slot.
Shia probably would have been supporting for Honey Boy.
Oh, I guess. Yeah,
so
good point.
That's where he would have popped up, but I still think that would have been a solid choice right there.
Did you see Waves? What about Kelvin Harrison Jr.? I mean,
don't get me started on Kelvin Harrison Jr.
I'm just saying, shouldn't he be in this thing? Like, come on.
I've had his name all over like every list I've had to come up with, and whether it's for Waves or for Loose, it's like really Loose should be all over all of the awards conversations this year, and I don't know. I feel like that's getting overlooked, maybe because it debuted at Sundance, maybe because it hit theaters in the middle of the year. But the other one that really upsets me that goes in the neon earlier release category is Wild Rose. Where is Wild Rose? How is that not all over the place? Especially for song. I think it got snubbed for song here too. And that is so, it's not in here. Yeah. That I think if that winds up happening at the Oscars would be one of the most upsetting snubs to me. Yeah. And sadly, I think that song could be like, I don't know, this year's Sing Street, where Sing Street got no love in 2016, which would be such a bummer.
I'm happy that Bale got nominated, though. I think he's incredible in Ford versus Ferrari, and that's the conversation to me. Those are the two guys for me that are the back and forth, is Joaquin Phoenix and Christian Bale. Yeah, De Niro not getting nominated, I get it. But like those are the two guys that I want to see what happens all the way to the end, because I think those are the two guys I'm watching.
I do have one question for you guys. We do have to move on because we have two really cool trailers to talk about. But the other category I wanted to bring up was the animated category. I don't think we have a graphic for this one, but there's one interesting little thing here because that list includes Frozen 2, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, Missing Link, Toy Story 4, and The Lion King. So where do we land with this? What is the official definition of Lion King? Is it an animated movie or is it not?
I guess it depends on the organization. Do they think it's an animated movie or not? Whether Disney thinks it's an animated movie or not. But certainly the organization has to make that decision. So clearly they think it is. I don't think it is in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I think the other unusual thing in terms of like an organization defining a movie is The Farewell is considered a foreign film where it's not elsewhere. Yeah, so I don't know.
Weird.
Yeah, but I found it a little surprising when I was scrolling through that list because right now in terms of like Gold Derby predictions, I'm thinking The Lion King could be up for Best Visual Effects. Yeah. But that can't really equal animated, so what's going on here? Where do you stand on it, Silas?
I'm personally of the opinion that like the end result of what you want it to be is how it should be defined. So in that sense, because Lion King is trying to look like a live action movie, it's a live action movie.
Yep.
And
great point, Silas.
I can see the argument for either side. I tend to roll my eyes sometimes when people will say, I love the live action Lion King. And somebody like, well, technically it's an animated film. And there's also like a weird argument where like you're taking the attention away from animators who work really hard. And it's always one of those like, really? Because like animators also worked on this other movie. And it's not like we're naming them. It just feels like something people like to complain about. That being said, I don't really think it should be in the animated film category just because that's something like animation doesn't have a lot of that. There's not a ton of space for animated films to be celebrated in the bigger awards season. So if you start taking like, will the next Avatar be an animated film?
Right. Great point.
Well, the part of the reason I'm upset that it's in this category is because I was kind of rooting for Abominable.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up.
To get a little love, and the name is escaping me of a lesser known one. I believe it's on Netflix. The one with like the hand and the body. Oh my God, I can't believe it's not the title.
I Have No Body.
Yes.
I haven't seen it yet, but
I haven't seen it yet either, but someone flagged it for me for like a long time ago, and I haven't gotten around to watching it. But I know that one was considered a little bit of a snub here.
Why is no one talking about Klaus? Klaus was incredible.
I don't think a lot of people watched.
That's what I'm saying. Like, did
or at least not a lot of people that I've been speaking to.
Yeah. Did they throw it up in there? Because I watched over the weekend. The animation is phenomenal. Something I've never seen before. And it's an incredible story. It's a sweet story, great voiceover work, and no one is talking about it. And it's a Netflix film, so I'm shocked.
Why was every animated movie this year about ice? Like Frozen 2, Klaus, Abominable, Missing Link, Arctic Dogs.
Arctic Dogs. I forgot that even existed. All right. As much as we want to get to all the categories here, we do not have time, but don't worry, Collider FYC has you covered on Wednesday, so tune in, check that out. And also, something you could watch later today on Collider Video, it's Rule of Two. Here's a promo.
Hey guys, Riley here, and let me tell you about Rule of Two. You looking for a Star Wars fix? Well, Rule of Two is that show. It drops in on Collider Video's main YouTube channel, as well as on Podcast One's Jedi Council feed. So go over there, subscribe, share it with your friends. It's hosted by myself and Mark Fernandez. We talk everything in the Star Wars universe with a lot of deep dives and a lot of conversations that go all in. You know what to do. Subscribe, join us there, and rise.
If you catch Rule of Two today, they're going to have a very special guest on the show. You might know him. His name is Jamie Costa, and he's there to debut, apparently, the trailer for his Obi-Wan Kenobi fan film, which I am just dying to see. So tune in later today and check that out. And just another reminder, if you want any of this cool heroes and villains stuff, use the promo code TALK10 for 10% off over on heroesvillains.com. Great holiday options. I know I already have my eye on. So my family does a Secret Santa every year, and I think I got someone this year who I think would really appreciate a Heroes and Villains. I don't know how big I'm going to go, if I'm going to go t-shirt or jacket for him, but I feel like it could be a good fit. I hope no one in my family is watching because we're not supposed to give away who we have, and now I just cut the field in half.
You've given away the gender.
It matters. There's only like 7 of us.
Papa Nems, I hope you enjoy your Klingon shirts.
I was gonna comment on that, but then I stopped because then it would have narrowed it down more. Now I just gave it away a bit more. All right, we're gonna get to these 2 trailers now. 2 really big trailers dropped recently. We got a full trailer for Wonder Woman 1984 and also the new Ghostbusters movies, which is called Ghostbusters Afterlife. All right. We have a lot to get into on these 2, but if you had to pick your favorite of the 2, which one would it be?
Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to go Wonder Woman as well, but just by a hair.
I really liked both of them.
Yep, me too.
And I like Ghostbusters, but I'm also not someone like that. Just wasn't my franchise growing up compared to other ones. There's something about just the I don't know, like the texture and the feel of it and how quickly I got sucked into that trailer and into that family that was really impressing me, and also just how certain familiar elements from the original films just like slowly kind of added up until you get to that ending where, I don't know, I found myself kind of like freaking out by seeing certain elements come back, and as I started to piece everything together as far as how these new characters could be connected to the original ones.
I love the fact that one is set in the 80s and one comes from an 80s property, which I think is really funny. And this nostalgia stuff for the decade I grew up in is great. I thought the Wonder Woman trailer is phenomenal, just fantastic. Patty Jenkins really just understanding what to bring to a sequel and how different and new to be. The Riding Lightning sequence alone was incredible, but I love the Maxwell Lord playing like the 80s infomercial guy that you grew up watching late at night if you stayed up that late, watching those crazy things, but the vibe of it, pulling up all of that, the fashion that they nail. But I agree with you, Perry. The Ghostbusters thing was a complete shock to me that I enjoyed that trailer because I was worried it was going to be a debacle. I was worried it was going to feel like, no offense to the Paul Feig one, I didn't like it. I thought it was going to feel like that, but I liked that it's set in someplace else. And this is how you recharge the franchise. You bring in some good young actors, put it in a place that's not familiar, and then connect it only in certain spots to the overall story. And you cast someone like Paul Rudd that fits the vibe of the original to carry these kids into what it's going to be. I thought it was brilliant.
I don't think there's a better lead foursome there, though, than Carrie Coon, Paul Rudd, Finn Wolfhard, and McKenna Grace.
Yeah.
It's like that list right then and there has me sold. But the fact that it's like it taps into that childlike wonder of discovery and you're rediscovering elements from the original films, it's like that kind of thing is infectious, and it works really well for me in the trailer.
Yeah.
I don't know if it did work for me. And I think the reason is because it's coming so soon after that E.T. commercial.
That E.T. commercial is great.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he went off on it.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I just, I don't know.
Commercial.
I think that this Ghostbusters movie is doing so many things right, and it's probably going to be really, really good. But there is a point where, it's weird to just, be sold your nostalgia back to you. And there's something particularly weird in Ghostbusters where, the kids in the movie, don't even have this nostalgia. So, as an audience, we have to have, kids who are learning how important our nostalgia is. I don't love that.
There's room for both, though. There's room for kids to discover their own things that are going to become their nostalgia, but also to be able to appreciate ours. You could look at it one way or the other. There is something, frustratingly commercial about it where you're being it's almost like you're being re-fed, regurgitated stuff. I just have cat vomit on my mind right now.
Go.
My cat threw up in my router today, and it was very upsetting. But you could either look at it that way, you're being given back rinse, washed, repeated stuff, or it's this idea, and this is part of the reason why I do really hold tight to things like adaptations and the continuations of franchises, is some young moviegoer out there who might not have had any reason to go back and check out the original Ghostbusters movie could see a film with people they admire like Finn Wolfhard and McKenna Grace, see this movie and be like, where did all this come from? And then go back and check out something that they might not have seen before. Or let's say Little Women, for example. Yep. I have actively avoided all forms of that story my entire life because I thought that story was not for me. Saw Greta Gerwig's movie, and now I have downloaded the Little Women audiobook. And years later, when I had no reason otherwise to, I'm finally gonna read it. And I think that's the good that comes out of it.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I take your point, but it's not like this film is a best picture emotional. It's Ghostbusters, and they made a sequel because they wanted to keep a franchise going. So it's in its bones to want to get to as many people as possible. So for it to go this route, I like it. I think it's the way to do it. Also, I saw some people pushing back going, there's no New York City. It's not New York City. Why would you want to set it in New York City again? We've done that 3 times already. There's no need. Set it out here in the wilderness because that's what you're trying to do, is to bring people out from this area back into this main love of the franchise. So it makes all the sense in the world to me personally that they're doing it this way because they don't have to be tied to all that stuff with New York City and can create their own narrative here.
All right, let's go more on Ghostbusters.
One of the weird things with Ghostbusters, I think, is there's something sad about seeing Harold Ramis died.
Oh,
Dan
yeah,
Aykroyd is very old, and unlike something like say if this was Star Trek, and it's about the Federation, and the Federation is about exploring and it's about pursuing knowledge. The legacy of the Ghostbusters is stopping cartoon ghosts, and I love that in Ghostbusters. But there's something hard to be like, after 30 years, that legacy is going to have new people. If there's not a ghost problem, it just seems like a fake thing to be sad about in some ways.
Interesting. No, it's a different take on it. I'm curious to see where they go on a second trailer and how much more they show, because I do appreciate the mystery and wanting to know more. And this is a trailer that almost makes me wish they will stop here, but I know that's not going to be the case. So I just hope they're crafty in terms of what they reveal in the next one. But with Wonder Woman, I feel like what was exciting me the most about that, this was the trailer that debuted at CCXP?
Yes.
That's the right order of letters. But the Brazil Comic-Con where Steve and Haley are right now, and all I could picture was that trailer debuting in front of a booming crowd like that. This is the kind of trailer that I think you're going to see before the big December releases, and it's just going to blow the theater away. There's something about the way it's cut, the music, the dialogue, the action, everything that says to me this is perfect for big screen trailer viewing that's going to get even more people to buy tickets to the movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought just the look of it was amazing. The time, it's been some time since Wonder Woman came out, and it feels like, we've been waiting for this.
I have a big question for you, Silas, because I feel like you're the best person to go to for something like this. How do you think Chris Pine's character comes back? Because there's some potential, like, I don't know, like science-y things that could make it happen.
I think it's the mystery of the movie, but it sounds like what Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord is doing is giving people the thing they want the most with some terrible price. So for Wonder Woman, that's getting him back.
So you think it's going to be a fish out of water scenario where, like, decades later he's kind of feeling out a new world, and that's why the art scene happens?
I suspect we're not. Yeah, I suspect we're not going to even know until some point much later in the movie why he's back. That part of the mystery is Wonder Woman also got what she really wanted, but what's the price of that?
Well, the reverse of it, right? The fact that he's out of water when she was out of water in the first film is a nice change. But I think it has to do with Cheetah. I think she knows, she finds out about him, uses whatever that thing Maxwell Lord is holding to bring Steve back to mess with Wonder Woman. And then someone put, I forget who tweeted it, but they said, I think they're going to kill Steve Trevor off after every movie, like Kenny in South Park for Wonder Woman.
I saw that too.
And I was
it's
like
definitely
laughing.
Someone we both thought. Was it?
Maybe it was on the general Slack of our Slack.
know.
And I thought it was genius, whoever put it up there on, because it was hilarious.
The order of events you just said, though, seems very... it seems like it's possible to me, but usually when something seems so obvious like that, it's wrong. So maybe it's not going to go that way.
Were you upset that you didn't see Cheetah yet?
No, I liked what I saw of Kristen Wiig. I thought, I mean, even though it's like an itty bitty moment, that one conversation that the two of them were having together, I thought even just a few lines was very powerful. And I don't know, I'm like into the character poster of her. I think that they are going to slowly reveal that character, and she might be a good fit for the role.
Okay. I can also see them wanting to see what the reaction of cats is.
Oh, Silas. And why does it always comes back to cats?
That would be brilliant.
I did love, so like at the very end of the trailer, there's the gag at the art museum of like, well, art is different for different people. And that's like a beautiful sentiment for a comic book movie, which is like, oh, it's pop art, but that doesn't mean it's not art. I kind of wondered if no, that's the trash can was a Justice League joke.
This is something people have been saying on Twitter, and I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh, that would be terrible.
Wait, what?
Why step on Snyder even more?
Why? Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's not even his cut.
Well,
so
still.
I think as soon as a Snyder cut of some form gets released, I think it'll be okay, even among hardcore DC fans.
I don't like that. I don't like that take at all.
Yeah.
It's like I don't care how
that.
anybody feels about Justice League. It's
Because
like there's someone out there that there's many people out there who do love it. I don't know. I just feel like any joke at the expense of another movie in that kind of sense is just not cool.
Especially when Snyder cast her in the damn role in BVS. So if she agreed to some crack like that, I think it's a bit of a stretch.
I feel like that's just...
I don't think they would do
putting
that.
an extra line to reading into that. That's not happening.
I do have so I have two wild theories right now.
Yes.
And one is either that Maxwell Lord is really Cersei, because Cersei's the person that transforms people into animals, and at some point Cheetah becomes an animal person.
Good call.
The other that I kind of like is I feel like in Justice League we have time travel that probably is never going to be continued. Bring that back to Wonder Woman. Make the 80s our jumping off point for have the Justice Society be founded. But the thing I realized is if Maxwell Lord is actually involved in global surveillance, what if he's trying to find Superman? Who has recently in 1984 landed and is somewhere on Earth.
That could work.
I'll take anything that paves the way to more Superman in the DC film franchise right now, because I still want Man of Steel too.
Yeah.
Riley has firmly gotten me on that boat, and I want it to happen. And sadly, I want it to happen with Henry Cavill, which I don't know, feels like every passing day the chances are diminishing.
I think that's an official Collider position. We
Yeah.
all want Man of Steel too.
I didn't realize how passionate I was about it until I heard it around me so much, and I'm like, no, I really do care. I want more.
And the way he's handled himself through this whole thing. Cavill has been nothing but class the whole time. Didn't get involved in that Snyder Cut hashtag. Did his own thing. Also, one last thing. I wonder if Thomas Wayne shows up in some form, or Martha Wayne shows up in some form in this to kind of allude to a Batman. Remember that Batman's going to be set in the 90s possibly. That could be something that could be playing around in the 80s as well. Especially Max Lord being a businessman. Why wouldn't he know about Wayne? So,
all right, guys, we have to say goodbye, but we just left you with a whole bunch of theories to think about. If you agree with them or disagree with them, hit the comment section below. Share your thoughts and your theories there. We love hearing what you think as well. Silas, Rocha, thank you so much for being here for this Heroes and Villains sponsored episode of Movie Talk. Again, that promo code for 10% off is TALK10. You use that at checkout on heroesvillains.com. They've got a whole bunch of new lines out, Star Trek, Batman, Joker, and also Warriors of Mandalore, and we're going to show some of it off on the show all week, and I can't wait to see what else I can get my hands on. All right, guys, a big thanks to Adam in the booth and to all of you out there for watching today's show. Do not leave it without liking and sharing it, and don't go anywhere after you leave Movie Talk but Collider Live. I believe they have Justin Long on the show today, so you're not going to want to miss that. Check it out, and we will see you tomorrow morning bright and early for a brand new Movie Talk.